Fashion is a form of ugliness, so intolerable that we have to alter it every 6 months. Fashion is defined as a form of self-expression and autonomy at a particular period and place and in a specific context of clothing, footwear, lifestyle, accessories, makeup, hairstyle, and body posture. The term implies a look defined by the fashion industry as that which is trending. For the vast majority of my life, I viewed fashion as the apex of pop culture. Fashion was the pinnacle of visual expression, synonymous with extrinsic authenticity, and it certainly didn't hurt that it was undeniably the industry of cool. In those days, to be unfashionable would have been worse than death. I stayed up to date on all of the trends, watched videos on how to dress adequately, and took as many over-edited pictures of my mediocre outfits as I could. As I dug deeper into the bin of this illustrious world, I couldn't find any of the autonomy or the individuality that I was searching for. Instead, I found cultural homogeneity, adherence to trend, and an entire world of self-obsessed, insecure clones who lived their lives for the validation of others. Eventually, the gilded world of fashion I once coveted became a source of unequivocal misery for me, and I walked away. As I eradicated the importance of trend and obsession with brands from my life, I stumbled upon exactly what I'd always been looking for within the farcical world of fashion: style. Now, what is style exactly? To me, it's simple. Style is individuality. It's embracing and refining your idiosyncrasies and influences and effortlessly putting them together in the way that you dress. Style is the escape from trying to be cool. Personally, I think Charles Bukowski puts it best.
Style. Style is the answer to everything. A fresh way to approach a dull or dangerous thing. To do a dull thing with style is preferable to doing a dangerous thing without it. To do a dangerous thing with style is what I call art.
True personal style is such a beautiful thing because it looks different on everyone and is totally antithetical to ephemerality. No matter the era, the place, or the universe, authentic style sticks out like Monica Bellucci amongst a crowd of OnlyFans girls. Bright red brand names come and go, jeans rise higher and lower on the hips as the years go by, yet style remains eternally. Fashion is defined in a number of different ways, and its application can be sometimes unclear. Though the term fashion connotes difference, as in the new fashions of the season, it can also connote sameness. For example, in reference to the fashions of the 1960s, implying a general uniformity. If it wasn't already clear, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. The fashion of a particular era is congruent with uniformity, which is directly tied to conformity. And we all know how much I adore that. Good old conformity strips you of your individuality and humanity. It makes everyone and everything interchangeable, removes any meaning from life and the events that take place within it, muddles your perception of reality, and of course can absolutely drive you fucking insane. Adhering to fashion trends completely delude any level of one's objectivity pertaining to what one actually has a stylistic affinity for, and the ability to have personal taste. Here's some garbage that I've heard over the years. Oh my goodness, I looked so cringe in 2009, but now I just look so good. I'm so stylish. No, you're not. And what's crazy is that in 3 more years, you'll agree with me. Your definition of looking good is predicated on what society deems as dressing fashionably. Now that the low-rise jeans and thin eyebrows look is coming back, somehow you like it now, even though you were telling me last month you looked bad and wished every Hollister was burned to the ground. But on second thought, it was actually a slay, because some Philistine told you that it was on TikTok? Please. Maybe you actually looked great in the late 2000s and had some semblance of personal style, but until you eradicate trend following within your life, you will forever and always be blind as to what you truly like and what you don't. And in your perennial chase for uniqueness, all you found is financial and emotional debt, adhering to trends you'll soon despise, the same polyester top made by a 3-year-old from Indonesia, and a permanently vacuous existence. Talk about a trend that ain't going nowhere. Now, I may be wrong here, but it seems as if there are virtually no original ideas or innovation within most aspects of art and pop culture. I mean, we're certainly entering uncharted territory in terms of how much of a joke we can turn America into, but I digress.
How would you say your mental focus is?
Oh, it's focused.
Instead of trying to reinvent the wheel to some degree, we just absolutely obsess over the past and blatantly copy it far less convincingly than the original time period and pretend we're doing something new. The 1980s science fiction, Spielberg porn movie craze in the mid to late 2010s, the resurgence of pop punk where every track sounded like a Blink-182 parody, somehow all featuring Travis Barker. We still have people saying, I think Marvel is really gonna have a comeback in Phase 78. It's over. How many more failed iterations of the same video game that the fans hate do we have to go through to realize the true reason we were all so nostalgic about these things from the past is because they were unbelievably fresh and innovative? It's impossible to recapture that same lightning in a bottle, but I refuse to believe that we've bled ourselves so dry of creativity we can't come up with anything original. But I think we all know what's really going on here. The corporations won't create anything new because they're guaranteed hundreds of millions in profit from who? Us. We can't keep standing for this shit and keep going to see Ant-Man Quantum Zone or whatever the hell it was called. But who am I kidding? Even I'm guilty of hate watching She-Hulk. Excuse my hypocrisy. But in a multitude of ways, just like these other mediums, the fashion industry is no different. Y2K fashion has been exponentially prominent the past few years, emphasized by a return to bright colors, low-rise jeans, and, well, almost nothing else. The 2000s were 10 years long, just in case anyone forgot, and there were countless trends within that period. Duh. Anyway, it seems as if Y2K fashion is more closely associated with the early 2000s. So in my mind, if the ladies aren't wearing dresses over blue jeans and parting their hair like Michelle Trachtenberg in Mysterious Skin, can we really call the early 2000s the era of Y2K? And gentlemen, if you're not pulling up in the Channing Tatum fit from Step Up, you're actively contributing to the downfall of society, and you know it. My point is that fashion trends always have to fit into these little neat boxes, and different types of clothing are usually categorized by an era that people don't even fully understand and romanticize to the nth degree. To me, so much of this appreciation and yearning for the past is the spawn of complete and utter escapism, which honestly makes perfect sense. Young people are struggling with the reality of their current situation and choose to adopt the style of a time that was supposedly much better than today. And yeah, the 60s through the 90s seems like heaven comparatively to now. But for all of the young people who think that they were born in the wrong generation and wanted to live in Manhattan in 58, it's like, yeah, maybe the constant existential dread that permeates through the air nowadays didn't exist, but neither did Uber Eats, all of your beloved streaming services, the Civil Rights Bill, and say hello to PTSD because you're going to Nam.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Ugh, I sound like an annoying liberal, but it's true. Once again, the embrace of nostalgia makes absolute sense, just not in the way people are going about it. For the first time in history, anyone with data on their phone has the ability to access any piece of information pertaining to whatever the fuck they want instantaneously due to the internet. We no longer need to be confined to the parameters of a particular trend based on an era. For once, we can be free, acutely selecting certain pieces from specific eras we have an affinity for, and blend certain trends of the past and wear personalized idiosyncratic outfits. But is this going on? Of course not. Our narcissistic selves are so caught up in being perceived by other people as cool and fashionable, we've neglected our own individuality like the plague, and have strictly conformed to the status quo, disguised as uniqueness, trapping ourselves in yet another confining box. This exorbitant amount of self-categorization brings up a very controversial theory of mine. All of the people who reject mainstream society and claim they want to be different want exactly the opposite. What they really want is to be different just like everyone else. If you're actually different, you run the risk of feeling ostracized from many different groups, not feeling connected to society at large, and enduring the greatest hardship in human history, not being seen as cool. Most humans all just want to be accepted and a part of a group or a community, and honestly, these alternative people want to fit in the most. Holy shit. Who are the only people you ever see complaining about society not accepting them? Alternative people who converted to alternativism when it became mainstream. There were 5 emo people in the world before My Chemical Romance, Panic at the Disco, and Paramore became mainstream, and then hundreds of millions of people globally dyed their hair black, cut their own bangs, put on the Black Parade, and posted some poem on MySpace called They'll Never Understand Me. No, they have understood you because MCR is one of the biggest bands of all time. Your alternative identity was literally the most popular cultural movement in the country, my friend. The same exists now. I went to college in San Francisco, and people I knew would always go to pride marches to make a stand against the oppression of the LGBTQ. Look, if you were in Covington, Kentucky, marching for the rights of gay people would make sense. But to do it in San Francisco, the gayest city in the world? The needles and syringes are gay in San Francisco. And of course, all of the people that went would go, do you want to get high and go to Pride and take some photos? They don't give a fuck about fighting for rights. They go to Pride so they can appear edgy and rebellious. But like I said, if you're not coming out as non-binary in Golden Gate Park, you're at risk of being thrown out of the city. You go, bitch, you're too slay for gender. Now, being different and unique is the norm. Everyone is special. Ain't that the truth? But if everyone is special, no one is, which creates the need for even more redundant categorizing of oneself. In this instance, I'm talking about core fashion, which has to be one of the dumbest, most asinine developments I've ever seen, so I won't talk about it at length, but I just wanted to read some of these cores. We have angel core, devil core, ballet core, Barbie core, cottage core, cowboy core, fetish core, a personal favorite of mine, goblin core. Look, man and woman, we need to understand that your fashion choices are one of the many parts that make up who you are. They are not the basis for your entire identity. Fuck the cores and be who you are authentically. And if you don't know who that is, the number one course of action is to start living your life for you instead of validation from others, and throw your diploma from TikTok University in the flames. Outside of the demonic platform that is TikTok, in my estimation, one of the reasons why fashion trends are more ephemeral than ever is due to the lack of the ability to rebel in society. The mainstream is no longer restrictive and encourages behavior that was once looked at as outlandish and taboo. All of the battles the youth once valiantly fought for LGBTQ rights, gender equality, and the right to put your index and pinky finger up in the air without being sent to receive an exorcism are no longer remotely existent in our culture. Major corporations are turning pieces of chocolate candy non-binary. Hedonism is actively encouraged, and sexual promiscuity is just the standard at this point. I drove past a church last year and saw a sign that read, "God is a they/them." If anything, rebellion at this stage in the Western world would be a return to monogamy, sexual purity, and reading the Old Testament before bed every night. But once again, I digress. When there's nothing to be irreverent towards, no genuine evil for anyone to fight against, and nothing remotely controversial about anything anyone does, people begin to start doing shit just because they can. Look, you're free to drive your car into the opposite lane of traffic. You're free to cheat on your boyfriend because other men are interested in you. You're free to lie to the people closest to you in your life and stab them in the back repeatedly. It's all available to you, my friends. And if you're a relatively sane person, which I'm sure many of you are not, you understand my point. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Of course, the exact opposite ensues, and in an effort to try and emulate the rebellion of days long past, maximalism has risen to the surface of Gen Z fashion trends. I would define maximalism as just throwing on way too much shit in your closet, but I'm sure there's a more comprehensive definition than that out there. The maximalism design style is rooted in a more is more philosophy that will often blend an eclectic mix of patterns, colors, textures, and objects. When we think of maximalist fashion, we tend to associate it with Harajuku-inspired fits, campy patterns, excessive layering, audacious silhouettes, and in general, styles that are terribly hard to pull off. And terribly hard to pull off they are. Damn right, Harper's Bazaar. Most of the maximalist outfits that I see resemble something more along the lines of a clown cosplay, rather than a cohesive, well-curated aesthetic decision. throwing the sentiment of less is more down the garbage disposal. And yes, there are certain individuals who totally are able to pull off the maximalist look effortlessly. After extensive research, I can actually say that's not true. But most people just look like something is seriously wrong with them. And because the trend is all the rage right now, the outfit looks like an ill-fitting costume and doesn't possess a modicum of authenticity. The high fashion industry is public enemy number one when it comes to doing too much, as they say. Now, I completely understand that the high fashion runway looks serve the purpose of an art installation and aren't necessarily meant to be worn in day-to-day life. But is wearing an inflatable swimming pool as a jacket or a trash can lid as a sun hat really necessary? Many of these designers have completely eschewed the notion that fashion has anything to do with clothes and have just opted for fashion equals absurdity instead. I was already slightly familiar with this, but these runway shows are an absolute catastrophe. Models are falling over left and right, the outfits are almost all abysmal, and I can't even believe I'm about to use this reference, but the audience is just sitting there with smiles on their face like all of this is totally normal, kind of akin to the District 1 citizens from the Hunger Games, watching the live stream of the tributes from one of those lowly districts getting mauled by technologically engineered bees. The whole high fashion world is brimming with a bunch of very strange people who are into some even more peculiar activities. But I'm not going to talk about that today. I genuinely believe that maximalism is the most unsavory trend to ever enter the zeitgeist. At this point, I would rather go back to 2011 swag fashion than continually regress in this maximalist direction. And why is maximalism the burgeoning fashion trend in this social media infested digital hellscape? World we live in? Well, I'll get to that later. In my eyes, there have always been two camps of American fashion. The elegant, sophisticated, put-together side of the coin, and the dark, rebellious edge of the other. In the 50s and the 60s, you had the ad men with their exquisitely tailored suits, juxtaposed with the leather jackets and the gelled hair of the greasers. The mainstream 70s fashion was personified by bell-bottoms, open satin shirts with wide collars, and heeled boots. And the alternative movement consisted of shaggy long hair, peace signs, acid, and tie-dye in the form of hippie culture. And we certainly can't forget the punk movement. The 80s style was defined by the yuppies' pristine haircuts and pinstripe suits underneath obnoxiously oversized overcoats, and the eyeliner sporting hair metal guys who are almost indistinguishable from the ladies. In the 90s, the basic mom jeans and white t-shirt look was immeasurably pervasive, offset by torn and frayed sweaters, zany hairstyles, and heroin chic, a la Kurt Cobain, Lane Staley, and Kate Moss. The Great War of Abercrombie versus Hot Topic raged on all throughout the 2000s, which in my vain opinion may not be the best, but is arguably the most iconic period in fashion history. Culturally, we began to fall from grace in the 2010s with hipster and scene fashion, but there was still an undeniable charm present. In the 2020s, all sense of elegance within fashion dissipated, and the harmonious dichotomy that once rang true became nothing but a distant memory. Now, fashion is something young people only engage with when they decide to emerge from their apartment once every 2 weeks to get fucked up at some bar that serves $18 tequila sodas, or to film a TikTok in public. When you see a young person out and about before 10 p.m., which is extremely rare, might I add, they are usually clad in frumpy sweatpants, hair an absolute wreck, with no need to present themselves in a fashionable manner because no one is going to take a photo of them to post on Instagram. I've heard these same young people frequently mention how comfortable their dirty sweatpants and disheveled appearances make them feel, but they're frauds to their core. They want to look their best, yet actively choose to go out looking like they haven't showered in a week. Come on, guys, we all know the old adage, if you look good, you feel good. And my generation looks like shit. No wonder why the vast majority of my generation is plagued with severe mental health issues. Maybe if they were wearing an outfit that gave them some confidence, a significant amount of their insecurities and plight would no longer be a factor. I hate to say it, but the older generations kinda had it down. Regardless of the fashion trend, whether it be the mods or the rock girls from the early 2000s who wore affliction tees, they had their look refined and unbelievably put together. Even if they were trend following, engaging in conformity, and secretly miserable inside, they all looked like $1,000,000. Like, if you're gonna be fashionable, at least look nice, right? Also, I always hear the excuse, I just didn't have the energy to dress well today. I got 3 words for you: 1950s alcoholics and pill-addicted housewives. These men woke up hungover as hell early in the morning, shaved, gelled their hair down, and then got in their car, realistically took a few pulls on the way to the office, and then they did their thing. They were closing big time. The 1950s housewives, they woke up, they're on pills, they're getting ready, curling their hair, vacuuming. That roast is gonna be in the oven and it's going to be cooked to perfection. So there is no excuse. Now, I'm not insinuating that we all need to be clad in exquisitely tailored Savile Row suits and flattering black dresses looking like we're fresh off the runway, but it sure beats grown men, and I use that term very loosely, wearing basketball shorts and flip-flops in the winter. My point is that the fashion standard for decades was once synonymous with sophistication, class, and being an adult, and now has devolved into both men and women looking like Adam Sandler, who, by the way, honestly had style in my eyes, but alas.
You're not that guy, pal, trust me. You're not that guy. Okay.
Every now and then I'm accused of being overly critical, and I always say the same thing. You're absolutely spot on, but I'm nowhere near as critical as my dear friend, Jonny Boomer.
Now look here, Samuels, you're going soft on him.
I just told this camera that all sweatpants should be thrown into a furnace.
My point exactly. These kids don't know how to dress. You understand what I'm saying, pal?
I agree 100%, but now it's time to talk about some style icons who 100% had it down pat.
Ah yes, Humphrey Bogart was spick and span.
That is true.
Now you're talking.
How drunk are you right now?
Samuels, you've done it again. Now look, see? I've got a rendezvous with my mistress, and I gotta be at dinner with my wife. 8:30, sharp. Jonny Boomer, out.
Anyway, when we think of style icons throughout time, some familiar names tend to come up. Marilyn Monroe, James Dean, Prince, but these are obvious choices that society at large has already agreed upon. I would like to offer some of my own. The lead singer of Japanese rock band Buck-Tick, Atsushi Sakurai, may be one of the most stylish men to ever grace this earth, specifically in the early 1990s. His dark, vampiric look was effortless and exemplified androgyny done right. In '94, Atsushi appears on a talk show, and the host doesn't understand him in any capacity, yet is so immeasurably infatuated with him. Atsushi is almost otherworldly in his physical appearance, yet is so human in his behavior within the interview. He appears slightly anxious, but still manages to exhibit a conveyance of calm. The interviewer has a very difficult time making sense of Atsushi, but can't help but want to understand him.
どうなってる？
でもすごい絡まってますけどね。
あ、そう。で、やっぱブラシでこう。
それもあんまりやんないんですけど。
女の、でも大体ロックの人って髪の毛傷んでるもんね。
そう
いろんなもの。
It's like seeing a panther in the wild and being absolutely terrified of it while simultaneously wanting to pet it due to its immense beauty. That is the epitome of style. See, the homoeroticism is getting the best of me. At the time, Japanese masculinity was defined by the colloquial term salaryman. In Japanese pop culture, this is embodied by a white-collar worker who shows overriding loyalty and commitment to the corporation where he works. Salarymen are expected to work long hours, to put in additional overtime, to participate in after-work leisure activities such as drinking, singing karaoke, and visiting hostess bars with colleagues, and to value work over all else. In conservative Japanese culture, becoming a salaryman is the expected career choice for young men, and those who do not take this career path are regarded as living with a stigma and less prestige. Atsushi completely rejected the corporate mantra and lifestyle of a salaryman, and chose to write songs about love, loss, and look incredibly gorgeous and stylish while doing so. Well, I guess he didn't reject it completely, as he was clearly quite a fan of a drink or 3.
酒もらったけども酒はよく飲むらしいね。
よく飲みます。
毎日飲んでる。
ほとんど毎日。
Outside of that, Atsushi went entirely against the grain. He wore scarlet lipstick and copious amounts of eyeshadow, yet still inhabited and in many ways created a dark and sensual corner of masculinity that was entirely specific to him. His performance of Kiss Me Goodbye in 1994 elucidates his unique brand of masculinity and his undeniable style perfectly. It may have been hard to notice that I happen to have a predilection for eyeliner-clad beautiful gothic men with deep voices, but one of the most stylish people I've ever witnessed in my life is the great Tim Dillon, the funniest comedian of all time, and I'm not being facetious about either one of those things. Tim Dillon is quite the departure from Atsushi Sakurai, but like our vampiric friend, Tim's style is all over him like a cheap suit. His brazen irreverence, brash superiority complex,
"You are a failure and a moral degenerate,"
300+ pound frame, and Marlboro Light chain smoking all coincide perfectly with this unbelievably poignant social critique,
"These people are frauds!"
surprising eloquence, and humor Peter Sellers would marvel at.
Society will go down. Nothing will ever be funnier because we're a crazy country. Full of crazy people, and everybody's just trying to suck the last few dollars out of this bloated pig corpse of an empire before the end. And I'm no different. Watch my special and subscribe to my pod. What am I gonna fucking sit here? What am I gonna go preach on a fucking mountain? We gotta make a little money here. But if your attitude or your idea is that the population's gonna get smarter, healthier, and more adept at problem solving, you're on fucking crack.
He resides in quadruple XL Ralph Lauren polo shirts and gaudy sunglasses that, according to him, cost thousands of dollars. Tim is clearly no Timothée Chalamet, but Chalamet's attractiveness pales in comparison to Dillon's style. The way he seemingly slithers across the table when he gets going, while screaming at the top of his lungs about the importance of throwing your weed in the trash and developing a pill addiction because you're an adult, is style incarnate. Tim is trashy. He's a scumbag. We all know his calling is to return to Percocet and sell unsuspecting victims subprime mortgages, so he can order a shellfish tower and a filet mignon blue rare to his stunning estate by the water, which he would agree with me on, absolutely. By the way, Tim is a gay man, and never fails to mention how much he wants to give the Vinnie Hackers of the world a suck job, but him being gay has very little to do with his opinions or ideology. He just likes men, simple as that, which is unbelievably refreshing to hear from someone who is relatively in the mainstream who happens to be gay. Before all else, he's simply Tim Dillon. If style is truly synonymous with individuality, Tim is the personification of it. Hopefully Tim continues his run as a style icon and doesn't end up as many people do, in an empty room with a Burger King cup full of wine saying the N-word. Truly, life in the big city. My personal style icon is Ville Valo, the lead singer of the Finnish love metal band, Him. Ville has it all. His angelic, 5-octave vocal range, his baritone speaking voice, managing to remain articulate and thoughtful no matter how many pints he drank, and his immaculate fashion sense coalescing with his natural beauty are some of the qualities that come to mind when I think of him. Ville single-handedly wrote every Him song and crafted a forlorn yet majestic world of love and death millions of people have resonated with. Every year there was a distinct fashion choice he made that further solidified him as externally stylish. In 2000, he had shorter hair and frequently sported red eyeshadow and a burgundy leather jacket. 2001 was Ville's peak in my eyes. His vocals were perfectly equal to his otherworldly looks and style. Ville pulled off a top hat, obnoxiously long hair, and as always, far too much eyeliner. I want to pinpoint Ville's look from Rock 'em Ring 2001. His jacket read "Your pretty face is going to hell" and was covered with scribbles and musings and lyrics. Ville wore 10 custom-made rings, comically flared flare pants in the best way possible, and for some peculiar reason, a gray and blue Adidas shirt that was his father's from the 70s. Ville's songs, seduction, and style are at their all-time high during Rock am Ring 2001. The weather almost seemed to adhere perfectly to Ville's disposition. I encourage everyone to watch this performance if you have any regard for the human race, as it is truly lightning in a bottle personified. In 2003, he began wearing a beanie and a scarf more often than not, giving another iconic look that many of his fans continually emulate. Ville also invented the heartogram on his 20th birthday, which has become an extremely popular symbol almost directly associated with Bam Margera. I've had a conversation where someone saw a heartogram tattoo I have and connoted it with Bam. However, what many people don't know is that Bam was absolutely obsessed with Ville and derived his entire style and lifestyle decisions from him.
So if you invalids didn't know, him is my favorite band.
To be completely honest, early on, I can't even blame Bam. The first time he saw him play was at the Garage in London in 2000, and the band put on an absolute show.
My darling, join me in bed.
Following this performance, Bam was so captivated by the band's music and Ville's charisma. Before long, his room was laden with posters of Ville and heartograms like a 13-year-old girl. He became Ville's #1 drinking buddy and even filmed their music videos for The Sacrament, Buried Alive by Love with Juliette Lewis, Solitary Man, and Love Said No. Not to mention the documentary Him vs. Bam, which honestly holds its own against the likes of Planet Earth, genuinely.
Hopping onto his glove. Look at that son of a bitch. Hey, the keyboard's here. Done the f***ing video. I hope it's rolling. Is this? Yeah, it is. We're done the video.
Side note, I really do hope Bam heals and recovers from his addictions and lack of maturity. Anyway, to me, Villa ultimately is the most stylish human being of all time, because that wasn't already clear. His elegant yet worn-in outfits, melancholic but romantic disposition, and undeniable beauty wonderfully coincided, and joined together even more perfectly when he was on stage with his band, wistfully crooning about memories of dreams long gone. Right on, Ville.
Quite sentimental, wasn't it?
All of these figures adhere to my best friend's definition of a stylish individual. They look lived in. Their life experiences, ethos, and emotional state are reflected within their fashion sense. They own their clothing and their look, not the other way around. In the comment section, my dear people, let me know who you think some style icons are. By the way, some honorable mentions include Grace Jones, Hunter S. Thompson, Francois Hardy, Miles Davis, Mads Mikkelsen, and Tom Ford, just to name a few. The social media fashion world is almost as much of a disaster as a high fashion runway. On the surface, it's an amalgam of trend followers, vanity-ridden attention whores, and get ready with me Instagram reels, but that's only the first circle of hell. Social media has exacerbated trend chasing and has only proliferated the already fleeting nature of fashion. When a hot new item drops, like those fucking Astro Boy boots, all of the influencers had to get their hands on them, take a fire fit pic, never wear them ever again, and wait for the next trendy garment to come out like TikTok leggings. And everyone who buys them has to film their little video, have loser men simp over them in the comment section, get their serotonin boost that lasts for all of 2 hours, then go through validation and attention withdrawal until they have something to post again. This is incredibly damaging to the content creators, as it forces them to be hyper consumers who are always after the newest thing to try and remain relevant. But at the same time, fuck the content creators, because they're totally playing into all of this garbage. It also greatly impacts young people who maybe want to develop their own personal style, and everyone they see in the fashion world is just moving from trend to trend, like Leonardo DiCaprio does when his girlfriend turns into a senior citizen at the ripe age of 26. Their minds are programmed from a very young age to keep up with the trends. And at this point, if you still are, you're attempting to sprint a marathon due to the acceleration of trends constantly changing, coming back, dying forever, only to be resurrected when you least expect it. On top of that, these trendy clothes are expensive. And even if you have the money, which most young people don't, what a waste to spend $500 on a Gucci belt, or $1,200 on some neoprene water shoes that have a Balenciaga logo on them, only for it not to be cool in due time. I'm sure everyone's social media feeds have been flooded with the "get ready with me" trends. And boy, are we coming to an end or what. The blatant thirst trapping occurring within these videos is so obnoxious, they're bordering on hilarity. I thought you were supposed to be showing off your mediocre outfit, not throwing ass. That outfit just isn't enough to garner people's goldfish level attention spans. And when all else fails, putting the half-naked body on display is always in the back pocket. The most interesting part of these videos about clothes is the part when the people have no clothes on. I genuinely wonder what the thought process is when making these videos. And this goes for both men and women, by the way. What can I say? I'm a bit of a misanthrope. When it comes to young people, I hate everyone equally. Kidding. Not really. Yeah, but I wonder what the thought process is like.
I have little to no personality, and I'm not entertaining or smart enough to captivate people's interest, but I still desperately want the attention of strangers on the internet. Okay. I don't want to blatantly look like a whore, so I won't do gym content, but I virtually have no skills I can offer. Oh, I got it! I can put on my clothes.
In the book of Exodus, God delivers 10 plagues to the Egyptians for their refusal to free the Israelites from slavery. Some of the plagues are the Nile River turning into blood, death of the firstborn, and street interviews. Oh, that wasn't one. If Instagram existed in 1300 BC, I'm almost certain it would have been. Hey yo, so like we about to do like a little like fuck, marry, kill. The Sphinx, Moses, or the Pharaoh? What are we saying? These street interviews about fashion aren't much better or thought-provoking than guy number 2 asking a drunk girl what her type is outside of the club. A very popular fashion interview question is, what current trend do you think is overrated? And the correct answer is all of them, but people usually give the coldest takes of all time.
Yay or nay skinny jeans?
Nay.
Nay for me.
Nay for me. I just don't like the way I look in them.
Hard pass, nay.
It's so apparent that most people within the fashion world are just so caught up in looking cool pertaining to the time. Most people just share the same lukewarm opinions and end up wearing many of the same clothes.
Hey, the fit astounding, bruh. Run it for us.
Bad. Borgas. Pancreatic divide.
Fits pick culture is an absolute abomination, and I can say that confidently because I actively participated in it for years. All of your favorite fashion influencers who are posing on the street looking oh so fashionable are some of the biggest losers in the universe. Here's what they do. They spend 3 hours getting ready, obsessively fussing over their outfit, having already planned it out days in advance, go to the location, shoot for 20 minutes with another one of their fashion influencer friends, then are past the camera to do the same thing for said friend. Then they don't actually stay out and enjoy the day, they go home immediately, take the outfit off, put on a pair of frumpy sweatpants, and choose from the 268 photos that were taken, edit about 11 of them until midnight, then post first thing in the morning. On top of that, there was this little thing called engagement groups, aka influencers, and of course all of the wannabes, who are in group chats with about 15 to 20 other fashion inclined people who all like and comment on each other's posts in the hopes of bolstering the success of the fit pic. You inauthentically show me love, and I'll do the same for you. After the photo is posted is where it gets fun. How much engagement you get on your post is entirely representative of your worth as a human being within this community. It's obviously unsaid, but if your boy gets more likes than you, it's implied you have no fashion sense, you need to drone strike your closet, and most importantly, you're not a human being, and if you were one, you would have no worth whatsoever. But everyone in the group leaves some comment like, bro's really a pioneer, with the obligatory fire emoji. But don't be deceived by the niceties. They want your post to fail. They want it to flop on its face. The Fitbit community as a whole has less integrity than Judas. And it doesn't end there. These fashion bros and gals, which I used to be one of, have zero personality and are trying to fill that void with Fendi and Doll's Kill. Also, as a guy, one of the sole reasons why you put any effort into your external appearance is to attract ladies and receive their attention and hopefully their validation as well. The only problem is that you quickly realize no woman on planet Earth gives a fuck about your Palace jacket, And if they do, it's because of your attractive qualities that you possess as a person that become associated with your palace jacket. But the reality is, if you are wearing a palace jacket, your brain probably needs to be rewired. I remember standing in the Supreme line on Fairfax in 2016, waiting to drop $50 on 3 Hanes boxers that happened to have the Supreme logo on them. Back then, I had never touched a dumbbell in my life, or a woman, and the biggest size that I could fit was a medium. I got to the counter and all they had was a XXL. Of course I bought them, and they looked like N1 gym shorts from 2004. I still wore them all the time, and I would purposefully pull the waistband up out of my drop crotch jogger pants so people could see the Supreme logo. I was in the early stages of talking to my future girlfriend at the time, and my idiotic mind thought that the brand name would impress her. And she told me to my face she couldn't have cared less and I needed to stop being a 4-year-old.
What concerns me are celebrity magazines, television with 500 channels, some guy's name on my underwear.
A very popular trend with the ladies that seems to be at the forefront of the current zeitgeist could be best synthesized as, I'm kind of thinking like I'm gonna rob Kat Von D of her style in the most unsavory way possible, even though there's nothing remotely dark or mysterious about me. It's time to set fire to Paris Hilton core and start worshipping the devil because edgy is in. Alex Peters of Dazed Digital Magazine wrote a lovely little article called Succubus Chic. Get to know the deadly new it girl. It reads, men always say that as a defining compliment, don't they? She's a ghoul girl. Being the ghoul girl means you are a sullen, sultry, vampy woman who adores skinny brows, jet black hair, and a Kubrick stare. The article goes on.
The cool girl is dead. The ghoul girl killed her. If you've been scrolling through social media recently, you might be aware that the girls have gone goth. Not trad goth, but a very specific, high-fashion, bleached brow version of goth. It's bad girl Angelina Jolie in her blood vial era. It's Wednesday Addams if she grew up, got a job in Milan, and picked up a coke habit. It's Arca's long, jet black hair, with a 90s skinny brow and a succubus smother. Cheeks are hollow and cheekbones are prominent. There's not an ounce of buckle fat in sight,
which I'll discuss in a few minutes.
The main players of this it girl new aesthetic are Gabrielle and Amelia Gray. 3 main components make up the look. Dark, if not black, hair, brows bleached off or plucked to within an inch of their life, and hollow cheeks.
The Gabrietification of women on paper would seemingly be worthy of throwing a celebratory festival, but when most people try to dress like a strung-out vampire, instead of resembling Brody Dahl from The Distillers or Angelina Jolie from the early 2000s, they look far more akin to if MGK and Willow Smith's song Emo Girl was a person, a normie, which is fine by the way, going to a rock show and doing their best to look like they belong in the scene. But you can just sense that something about them is out of place and the outfit that they are wearing is contrived. Miss I Love My Essential Oils and Satan herself, Billie Eilish, is unbelievably guilty of this. Wearing 46 chains and dyeing your hair neon green and black does not give you the right to categorize yourself as dark. And yes, I'm totally gatekeeping and girl bossing. Okay, I'm gonna stop myself right there. I was gonna say some immeasurably pretentious shit about how if you're not the most tortured yet elegant, sophisticated, dark individual, you're not allowed to dress in a gothic way. And maybe in the deepest caverns of my cynical heart, I do believe that. But honestly, that's just not true. Be a goth, have your emo phase, listen to Pierce the Veil, do all of these things. It is a lot of fun, and to be completely honest with you, I'm living in Cope City and cherry picking so hard with like the 9 cool and conventionally attractive goth people that exist, like Gabriette and Ville and Natsushi and myself. Look man, I'm just being overly critical. Do your thing, have fun, go and listen to Billie Eilish. The article written about succubus chic got me thinking about previous fashion trends pertaining to women and how much fashion is synonymous with the body. To fully adhere to a fashion trend, the body is going to have to undergo a usually drastic transformation. This notion of having a fashionable body is nothing new. Hold on. Let's say that again. Fashionable bodies are nothing new. What kind of a joke world do we live in? Unbelievable. In the 50s through the 70s, the societally agreed upon body standard was just a naturally, moderately trim physique, which most people were back then. And before someone tells me,
well, actually, Marilyn Monroe was a curvy icon.
What photos are you looking at? Yes, Marilyn was curvy, but by no means was she even close to being overweight, or BBW, as we say nowadays. But honestly, in those days, I don't think people were concerned with adhering to a body standard. They just weren't eating 4,000 calories of Taco Bell a day, drinking seed oils and pesticides out of a vat, and were smoking copious amounts of Lucky Strikes, but I'm getting away from my point. The 1980s was the first era where there was a very particular look that was associated with being fashionable, and as with everything in the 80s, people got way too extreme when it came to focusing on one's body. Exercising and weight loss became a massive aspect of culture, seen within jazzercise, bodybuilders such as Arnold Schwarzenegger and Tom Platz becoming mainstream, and TV like Baywatch showcasing the tightest, fittest, majestically glistening tanned bodies Hollywood had to offer. You would see the likes of Christy Brinkley, Elle Macpherson, Iman, Brooke Shields, Gia Karanji, and Cindy Crawford on the covers of these magazines and think, oh well, they're so beautiful and skinny, now I have to also be skinny to feel beautiful. In the 90s and 2000s, heroin chic and the Paris Hilton era of fashion placed being skinny at the forefront, which proliferated eating disorders, appetite suppressants, and even more discontentment pertaining to people's bodies. In the 2010s, we saw the emergence of the slim, thick body type due to Rihanna, Iggy Azalea, and of course, Kim Kardashian. And the 2020s have been the era of BBLs and manufactured thickness. But as of 2 months ago, that's gone out of style, and now that Kim is looking rail thin, has had her BBL removed, and is injecting Ozempic into her bloodstream, now all the rage is skinny. Do you not see how fucking sad everything that I just said is? It seems as if the only way women truly feel like they look beautiful is if they resemble the most popular, beautiful women within society, and in every one of those eras, the bodies that are fashionable are completely different. Guys, are we forgetting that everyone has very different natural body types and different bone structures and different metabolisms that we cannot change by going to the gym or getting surgery? We are blessed with our natural body types. It's what makes us unique. And wanting to change all of that to look like some idiotic celebrity is ridiculous. Be you. I was mercilessly body shamed my whole life for having the physique of a Cameroonian long distance runner. I was in Monterey, California when I was in 7th grade on a school trip, and we were going to go kayaking. And before we went kayaking, we had to put on these wetsuits. And my wetsuit size was the smallest one that they had, like the triple extra small. And my math teacher at the time comes up to me and she goes, "Samuels, looking like you put on some weight. What are you at now, 97 pounds? And was it right to body shame a 13-year-old? No, but I was unbelievably skinny, and in my old age, I've worked out consistently over the years, and I've put on some muscle, but I still resemble a malnourished ghoul or Alucard from Hellsing because I'm 6'3" and naturally thin, and if people want to make fun of me for it, fuck them. What I'm saying is that with a little bit of work, I've become comfortable with my own body, even though it certainly does not resemble the male beauty standard. But the male beauty standard is bullshit. I'm not trying to look like fucking Michael B. Jordan. I'm just trying to look like myself. And ladies, if you are watching this video, there is nothing more attractive and stylish than natural beauty. This is a very personal position that I hold, but getting the fat sucked out of your cheeks is not beautiful. Taking the fat from your stomach and putting it in your ass is not beautiful. Modeling your body after not only someone else, but the Kardashians is one of the least stylish endeavors you could possibly embark on. Kim is fake. Kylie is fake. Bella Hadid has had her entire body surgically reconstructed. Khloe Kardashian had that one picture of her in a bikini where she wasn't posing, the lighting was natural, it wasn't photoshopped to hell. Naturally, people got a hold of the photo, and Khloe hired a legal team to sue the people to remove the photo from the internet entirely, and she looked perfectly fine. These people can't even fill the body standards they have created. They're not beautiful, even in their own eyes, without the surgery, without the filters, and proper lighting. It's all a lie, farcical to its core, and sad, sad stuff. Just take care of yourself, eat well, and don't be so extreme about everything. Be you and work towards becoming the best version of that, and stop fucking trying to fit in with these miserable, insecure celebrities. And there's nothing more beautiful than that. I'll leave you with this. The security that comes with having your own style is immeasurable and irreplaceable, and you can get there multiple ways. If you happen to cultivate aesthetic individuality, I believe that the individuality bleeds into all other realms of your life. And on the other side of that coin, if you are brimming with intelligence and critical thought, and possess an idiosyncratic persona, you could wear running shoes with flared pants and it would probably be stylish. The point is that you have created your own look that you own exclusively, and people undeniably gravitate towards that. We have style icons that people try to emulate for this exact reason. Through style, you are no longer a lifeless marionette being dragged from one end of your insanity to another. Through style, you have cut your strings and become what fashion has never been able to be. Timeless, dangerous. And to do something dangerous with style is called art.
So